The history of Germany is doubly interesting because this state played a huge role in the life of all of Europe. Many decisions of German rulers still influence the lives of Europeans. Antiquity, the era of barbarian kingdoms, saw people inhabit the territory of modern Germany since ancient times. The barbarian tribes that gave rise to modern Germans and Scandinavians arrived here in the middle of the first millennium BC. The warlike Germans quickly subjugated neighboring tribes, although they initially inhabited the Baltic region. By the beginning of the Common Era, the Germans had moved into Central and Southern Europe. However, their further advance was halted at the border with the Roman Empire. Both sides were aggressive toward each other, and skirmishes between Roman and Germanic troops regularly occurred on the outskirts of the empire. The official date of the beginning of German history is considered to be the year 9 AD. From the 2nd century onward, Germanic raids on the Roman Empire became increasingly frequent and successful. The Germans began a fierce struggle for Roman territory. At the end of the 5th century, Rome fell, and barbarian kingdoms began to emerge on the territory of the former empire: Burgundian, Lombard, Astothic, Anglo-Saxon, Visigothic, and most importantly, Frankish. At the end of the 5th century, the Franks inhabited the north of modern-day Germany, but by conquering their neighbors, they continually expanded their holdings. By the beginning of the 9th century, under Charlemagne, the Frankish state reached the peak of its power. Its territory extended from the North Sea to the central part of the Apennine Peninsula and from the Carpathians to Pyrenees. The core of the kingdom, however, remained modern-day Germany. However, Charlemagne's descendants failed to preserve their legacy, and the Frankish state began to disintegrate. In 843, the Frankish kingdom was divided into 3 parts among Charles's grandsons. Lothair I received the Middle Kingdom, the historical core of the Frankish state, and northern Italy, considered the most coveted piece. However, this kingdom did not last long and was divided into parts after Lothair's death. The West Frankish kingdom, on whose territory France later emerged, went to Charles II, the Bold. Ludwig I the German became master of the East Frankish state, which later became a new powerful state, Germany. The Holy Roman Empire, an era of fragmentation. In 936, Otto I became king of East Francia. The new king sincerely believed in his own exceptionalism, that God had entrusted him with a special mission. He was truly a brilliant commander and a staunch defender of Christian values after the conquest of northern Italy. In 962, he was crowned by the Pope himself, becoming the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire and the spiritual heir of the Roman rulers. But most empires sooner or later experience a crisis. German emperors had to constantly contend with the growing appetites of bishops and local nobility. Under Frederick I Barbarossa of Hohenstaufen, who reigned in the 12th century, the first signs of feudal fragmentation emerged in the Holy Roman Empire. During the lifetime of Frederick I and his son Henry VI, the country remained united and even expanded its borders. These 2 talented emperors managed to contain the centrifugal forces that threatened to disintegrate the empire. The Hohenstaufens created a sophisticated bureaucratic system and did much to strengthen the vertical power structure. After the death of Henry VI in 1197, the empire was plunged into civil war for power and a rebellion by Italians who refused to submit to the Hohenstaufen. Only in 1220 did Henry VI's son, Frederick II, become emperor. He managed to reconquer Italy and waged a successful crusade. However, due to the constant need to deal with Italian affairs, Frederick II was unable to keep an eye on the German bishops and nobles. To avoid further conflict with his subjects, the emperor was forced to recognize their sovereign rights within the boundaries of each lord's domain. These concessions led to the formation of numerous independent principalities within the empire, many of which survived until the end of the 19th century. The Hohenstaufen dynasty came to an end after the death of Henry II. The interregnum lasted for approximately 20 years, during which chaos reigned in the empire. In 1273, a new dynasty, the Habsburgs, ascended the imperial throne. The first representatives of this dynasty no longer wielded the same influence as the Hohenstaufens. They depended on the decisions of the Reichstag, the electors, local princes who had the right to elect the emperor, and other noble German families, such as the Luxemburgs and Wittelsbachs. The empire entered a period of crisis. Italy emerged from German control, and the Duchy of Burgundy became a vassal of France. However, despite the deepening internal political crisis, Germany continued to be one of the most powerful states in Europe. A period of prosperity began under Emperor Charles IV, a member of the Luxembourg dynasty. The emperor issued a golden bull, legally formalizing the rights of the electors. They could elect an emperor, wage wars among themselves within the empire, but not against the emperor, and mint their own coins. While this document strengthened the position of regional rulers, it also excluded papal interference in internal affairs. In effect, the Roman Empire became an ally of independent principalities, while the emperors actively fought against the emergence of Chalice cities that could challenge the supreme authority. From the second quarter of the 15th century, representatives of the Habsburg dynasty began to occupy the imperial throne. At the end of the 15th century, a series of dynastic marriages formed the core of the Habsburg ancestral domains. This region included Hungary, Bohemia, and Austria, the latter being the center of the entire empire. During this period, the official name of the state became the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation. The Reformation movement in Germany was sparked by Martin Luther's famous 95 Theses, which condemned the practice of selling indulgences and the abuses of the Catholic clergy. Luther's ideas resonated with all segments of the population, as many were dissatisfied with the existing state of affairs, the vast wealth accumulated by monasteries and churches, the oppression of serfdom, the high cost of religious rites, and the church's condemnation of banking and commerce. Among the wealthy, the ideas of Luther and his associates were popular, while among the peasantry, their own reformers emerged, focusing not on dogmatic subtleties but on the need for social change. Under the slogans of liberating the peasants from serfdom and establishing universal equality, the Peasants' War began. However, due to a lack of military preparation, supplies, weapons, and a lack of coordination, the peasants suffered defeat. Emperor Charles V opposed the Reformation and sought to return his subjects to the authority of the Pope. However, many counties and cities were prepared to oppose the king and the Catholic faith. They even turned to Germany's longtime rival, France, for support, and together with the French king, waged war against their emperor. The Reformation culminated in the signing of the Religious Peace of 1555, which proclaimed freedom of religion in the empire, the 30 Years' War and its consequences. For approximately 50 years after the signing of the Religious Peace, Catholics and Protestants managed to coexist peacefully, but in the early 17th century, the established balance was upset. In Protestant Bohemia, an uprising began against the staunch Catholic Ferdinand of Styria. This regional religious and political conflict quickly escalated into a pan-European war of progressive nation-states against the hegemony of the conservative Habsburgs. The struggle against the Habsburgs united Denmark, France, the Czech Republic, and a number of German principalities, Russia, England, Sweden, and many others. On the side of the Austrian emperors were powers with strong opposition from the Catholic clergy, Poland, Spain, and Portugal, as well as Bavaria, Saxony, and Russia. The 30 Years' War was fought with varying success. Many historians consider it the first true world war, as all European countries and many colonies were drawn into it. 5 million people died during the military actions. Many died from typhus, plague, and dysentery, which raged across Europe at the time. The war ended with the Peace of Westphalia, under which many regions seceded from the Holy Roman Empire. Protestants received equal rights with Catholics. The empire's financial, tax, and judicial systems were restructured. The powers of the Reichstag and the German princes were significantly expanded. The latter even gained the ability to conclude international treaties with other powers. After the defeat of the Holy Roman Empire, France assumed a dominant role in European affairs. But the new hegemon also soon fell during the War of the Spanish Succession. The Habsburgs played a key role in the victory of the anti-French forces. Thanks to this, Austrian rulers once again enjoyed great authority and influence. The 18th century became a new golden age for the Habsburgs, but despite this temporary upswing, the empire slowly crumbled. In 1701, the Prussian state emerged from the Holy Roman Empire, with its capital in Berlin. The first Prussian kings managed to accumulate considerable wealth and create a powerful army, considered the strongest in Europe in the 18th century. The young kingdom quickly became a full-fledged rival to Austria. Prussian rulers began to declare themselves defenders of German liberties from the encroachments of the despotic Habsburgs. Many members of the German nobility also believed in the need to rid themselves of the Habsburgs. The empire experienced its final collapse during the Napoleonic Wars. The French army occupied the heart of the empire, the city of Vienna. Many German princes not only failed to defend their ruler, but also supported Napoleon Bonaparte. In 1805, Emperor Francis II was forced to agree to the terms of the Peace of Pressburg. A year later, the pro-French Confederation of the Rhine emerged within the empire, uniting 39 independent states and several free cities. Soon, the members of the Confederation declared their secession from the empire. Francis II had no choice but to accept the decision of his subjects and renounce the title of emperor. Thus ended the history of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation. Despite Prussia's failure during the Napoleonic Wars, the kingdom continued to grow and strengthen. By the beginning of the 19th century, a number of reforms had been implemented, resulting in the abolition of serfdom, the development of Prussian industry, and an improved system of government. The Prussian kings never joined the Confederation of the Rhine and continued to pursue independent policies. The dissolution of the empire, however, did not mean a complete breakdown in relations between its former parts. The rivalry between Prussia and Austria did not prevent them from joining forces to rebuild a unified state. After Napoleon's defeat at Leipzig in 1813, the Confederation of the Rhine disintegrated, and its members began to join the Confederation of German States, which functioned under Austrian auspices until 1866. During the Revolution of 1848 to 1849, an attempt was made to create a unified state, but neither the Austrian nor the Prussian emperors were prepared to cooperate with the revolutionaries. Meanwhile, relations between the two largest states of the Confederation became increasingly strained. In 1866, the Austro-Prussian War began, from which Prussia emerged victorious. After the war, the North German Confederation was formed, centered in Berlin, but Prussia's true triumph came with the Franco-Prussian War, which ended in 1871. As a result of the war, several large southern principalities were forced to join the North German Confederation. After this, Prussian King Wilhelm I and Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck were able to solemnly proclaim the restoration of the German Empire.